Caitlin Clark, did you turn down $15 million? Oh, that's a boss move. Oh, that's a crazy.
Okay, so get this. Caitlin Clark just made a crazy boss moves, right? That's a serious flex. The WNBA actually thought that they could just throw money at their problems and make everything disappear. We're talking $50 million on the table, the biggest contract they've ever even tried to hand out. And Caitlin Clark's answer? A flat-out no thanks. She's not buying into all the chaos, the politics, or any of those fake promises. She totally knows her worth, and she's definitely not going to be silenced for cash. But really, what do you think? Was she totally right to turn that down? Let's dive into this so-called historic deal. The commissioner and league execs were parading it around, acting like just throwing money at Caitlin would magically fix every single problem they've created. They thought a big paycheck would quiet the criticism, cover up years of mishandling, and keep her stuck in a league that hasn't even protected her when she's on the court. But Caitlin, she didn't even flinch. She knows that a flashy number doesn't just erase reality. And the reality is, this league has shown us time and again that they either can't or won't protect their biggest star. The same fans who are packing arenas, buying her jerseys, and tuning in to watch her play have also seen her take hit after hit, with little to no accountability from the refs or the league leadership. So now, suddenly, after all that, the commissioner just waves around $50 million like that's supposed to make everything okay? No way. Think about what Caitlin's been through in just 2 short seasons. She hasn't even had a moment to breathe as a pro before being thrown into constant drama. First, we saw the assaults piling up, one after another. Remember Bree's cheap shot? Totally brushed off.
Get a lot of people in foul trouble with how physical she is.
Son, turn it over for a 5th time.
And then Sophie Cunningham goes full linebacker on her, excused, somehow. Lexi Hull collides with her and nearly puts her on the sidelines. Oh, that's just part of the game. Meanwhile, Caitlin is the one left on the floor, getting battered, while the refs just swallow their whistles and the commentators act like it's nothing. Look, that's not basketball. That's a straight-up setup for injuries.
Walks there to the stanchion.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just about the physical stuff. There's all the politics, too. Remember Brittany Griner's constant shade? And what about those racial undertones that got tossed around when Caitlin really became the face of the league?
Fouled out, had 6, and it was a ticky-tack fouls, and again, Caitlin Clark.
So instead of celebrating everything her presence did for the WNBA, like exploding ratings, boosting ticket sales, and just making the league relevant again, certain players and media voices actually chose to play the race card. They created division instead of unity, which is just wild. Caitlin never asked for this spotlight, right? Her talent and her massive impact totally earned it. But instead of getting support, parts of the league just turned hostile. Now, on top of all that, the league itself has been struggling with its credibility. The refs can't seem to call games consistently. Star players are throwing elbows, grabbing jerseys, and flat-out assaulting Caitlin. But suspensions or fines, those are super rare, if they even happen at all. Fans see it, broadcasters see it, and most importantly, Caitlin sees it. So, when the commissioner drops a $50 million contract on her desk, you can totally imagine her reaction. It's not gratitude, it's pure suspicion. She's probably thinking, where was this energy when I was getting hacked every other game? See, the WNBA completely underestimated Caitlin Clark. They just assumed she'd take the money, smile for the cameras, and keep her mouth shut. But Caitlin isn't desperate at all. She's got huge endorsements with Nike, Gatorade, Panini, Wilson, and now Stanley. She doesn't need the WNBA's hush money. Seriously, she actually makes more money off the court than most players in the league combined. That $50 million might sound life-changing for other people, but for Caitlin, it's pure leverage. It's solid proof that the league knows they can't survive without her. And she's absolutely using that leverage to finally call them out. And get this. Think about how this offer looks to the rest of the league. How many veterans have been grinding for a decade and have never seen half that money? Suddenly, Caitlin Clark shows up, doubles the ratings, fills stadiums, and gets offered $50 million. You can totally imagine the resentment bubbling behind the scenes. That's exactly why the league wanted to fast-track this deal. They're desperate to keep her happy enough to just ignore all that tension. But Caitlin isn't stupid. She sees the whole setup. The same players who complain about her spotlight are the exact ones who would scream unfair the moment she signed that check. So Caitlyn turned it down. And by doing that, she exposed everything. She exposed the commissioner's desperation. She exposed the hypocrisy of players who totally benefit from her draw while attacking her at every chance. She exposed the terrible referring failures that let assaults slide just because the victim was Caitlin Clark. And most of all, she exposed how incredibly fragile the WNBA's foundation really is. Let's break it down even further. Remember that Sophie Cunningham incident? That wasn't just a hard foul. That was pure frustration turning into outright aggression. And how did the league respond? Basically, a shrug. No suspension, no fine worth even mentioning. And fans absolutely noted. Social media lit up with clips of Caitlyn getting thrown around like a rag doll while officials just jogged away. That's not basketball. That's straight-up negligence. And now they think she'll trust them with a long-term deal. Then you add the Lexi Hull collision, which nearly put Caitlyn on the sidelines again. It's not looking good, right? Yes, basketball is physical, and yes, contact happens. But when these events keep stacking up against one player, and that player just so happens to be the biggest star, people start asking serious questions. Is it incompetence? Is it bias? Or is it something even uglier? Caitlyn doesn't even have to say the words. The fans are already connecting the dots. And here's the real kicker. Caitlyn doesn't even have to threaten to leave. Just the thought alone absolutely terrifies the league. Imagine the WNBA without her. Seriously, imagine broadcasts without her logo threes. Her jersey sales, her headlines. Attendance would plummet, ratings would drop, merchandise would stall, sponsorships would vanish. That $50 million offer wasn't generosity at all. It was insurance. Insurance against the league completely collapsing under its own mismanagement. But Caitlyn's way smarter than that. She knows that taking their deal would only tie her name to their failure. It would make her complicit in a system that has totally disrespected and even endangered her from day one. She doesn't need them. They need her. And her rejection just made that crystal clear for everyone to see.
Listen, I understand. You got Nike deals, you got freaking PGA Golf Tour, Live Golf Tour, you got hockey sponsor. I know you got a lot going on, but to turn down.
Okay, so get this. The very second news broke that Caitlin Clark actually rejected that $50 million offer, the internet just went absolutely nuclear. Fans couldn't even believe it. Some called her crazy, others fearless, but either way, nobody stayed quiet. Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, blew up with highlight clips, memes, and all the hot takes you could imagine. One camp argued she totally should have taken the money and secured her future. The other, they saw it as the boldest move in modern sports, proof she simply can't be bought, not even by her own league. And honestly, can you blame her? Caitlin Clark doesn't move like some desperate athlete clinging to a paycheck. She's not just here to get paid. She's already made millions from endorsement deals that completely dwarf WNBA salaries. I mean, she's on billboards, commercials, magazine covers. She's selling sneakers and those Stanley Cups faster than stores can stock them. That's real power, that's real influence. And that's exactly why rejecting that $50 million stings the league so badly. It clearly shows she's bigger than their highest number. But while fans were arguing online, you could actually feel the panic inside the WNBA itself. This wasn't just about one deal falling apart. This was about control. The commissioner and the execs truly thought they had Caitlyn locked in. They assumed they could just dangle a shiny check and keep her chained to the league's chaos. Instead, she totally reminded them that control doesn't come from contracts. It comes from credibility. And right now, the WNBA has absolutely none. Because let's get real here. This league has let Caitlin Clark take more punishment than any star in recent memory. Breeza's cheap shot, brushed off. Sophie Cunningham's body check, excused. Lexi Hull's collision, just part of the game. Meanwhile, other players get protection, sympathy, even a good narrative spin from the media. Caitlin, she just gets told to toughen up. That double standard isn't lost on her or her millions of fans. And when you look at the racial tensions stirred up by Brittany Griner's remarks, framing Caitlyn as a problem instead of a solution, you realize this environment has been toxic from the very jump. So imagine this. The WNBA, The same league that stood silent while Clark was being targeted now tries to brand her as the face of the future. With a contract designed to tie her image to theirs forever, that's not an opportunity, that's a trap. And Caitlyn knew it. By rejecting the offer, she completely kept her independence. She sent a clear message: no amount of money erases mistreatment, racism, or incompetence. What's more, let's not gloss over the player reaction either. Plenty of veterans are absolutely seething. Think about being in the league for 10 years, grinding for scraps, and suddenly seeing Caitlyn offered $50 million after just 2 seasons. Of course, jealousy flares up. Of course, whispers spread in the locker rooms. And that tension, it would have exploded the moment she signed. Caitlyn rejecting the deal might have honestly saved the league from its own civil war. But it also left those same veterans furious that the golden child even had the chance in the first place. The resentment is already there, totally simmering under every elbow thrown her way. And the fans, they're divided, but they're paying attention like never before. People who never even cared about women's basketball are suddenly watching because of Caitlyn Clark. Her games sell out. Her jerseys outsell entire teams combined. And now, with this rejection, even casual sports fans are super intrigued. They want to know why she turned down life-changing money. They want to know what's really going on behind closed doors. Suddenly, the WNBA can't hide its dysfunction anymore. It's being exposed on the biggest stage by its brightest star. Media outlets jumped on the story too. Some spun it as Caitlyn being ungrateful, hurting the progress of women's basketball. Others framed it as heroic, standing up to a league that hasn't protected her. But both sides actually missed the bigger point. This wasn't just about Caitlyn, it was about power. For decades, players begged for better pay, better travel, better treatment. Now, for the first time ever, the WNBA needs a player more than she needs them. And that player chose not to play along. That's a power shift the league was absolutely not ready for. Think about what rejecting $50 million actually means. It means Caitlyn values her freedom, her image, and her principles way more than just a paycheck. It means she's betting on herself, her brand, and her global reach outside of the WNBA. And it means she doesn't believe the league can change fast enough to be worth her loyalty. That's not stubbornness, that's brilliant strategy, because Caitlyn Clark knows her prime years are simply too valuable to waste on broken promises. Now, here's where it really gets interesting. Fans are asking, what's next for Caitlyn? Does she go overseas like Taurasi once did, chasing bigger contracts in Europe or Asia? Does she lean fully into endorsements, becoming a global ambassador without the grind of a league schedule? Or does she wait out the WNBA, forcing them to rebuild credibility before she even considers returning? The possibilities are endless. And that uncertainty absolutely terrifies the commissioner's office. Because let's be honest, without Caitlyn Clark, the WNBA loses all its momentum. Attendance dips, sponsorships hesitate, networks stop bidding high for TV rights. The Caitlyn Clark effect has been the single biggest growth driver in league history. And her rejection puts all of that at risk. That's exactly why that $50 million offer existed in the first place. They weren't rewarding her, they were begging her to stay. And she said no. On top of that, let's not forget the symbolism here. Turning down $50 million isn't just about money, it's about respect. It's about safety. It's about being treated as more than just a cash cow. Caitlyn Clark didn't reject a contract. She rejected a system that let her get assaulted without consequences. A system that allowed racism and jealousy to overshadow performance. A system that leaned on her for ratings while leaving her totally unprotected on the court. That's what she walked away from. So where does this leave the WNBA? In chaos, frankly. They've got to answer some really tough questions now. Why did they think money could erase mistreatment? Why did they assume Caitlyn would sell out her principles? Why are they still ignoring the assaults, the bias, the uneven officiate? Fans aren't dumb. They've seen the clips, they've read the headlines, and they're starting to wonder if the league's leadership is even capable of fixing things. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Clark is sitting pretty, endorsements pouring in, social media buzzing, fans as loyal as ever. By rejecting the $50 million, she just elevated her status from star to absolute icon. She's no longer just the face of the WNBA. She's the face of resistance against it. She's proof that athletes don't have to accept disrespect just to get paid. And that, more than anything, is why this decision really matters. The WNBA thought they had Caitlyn Clark. Instead, she completely flipped the board. walked away, and left them scrambling. Now the question isn't, how much will they pay her? It's how long will she let them sweat before she even considers coming back. Caitlin Clark, rejecting $50 million, isn't just a headline. It's a serious warning shot. She's showing the league and the world that no amount of cash can buy back respect once it's lost. The question now is simple. Will the WNBA change, or will it crumble without her?